Madam President, I ask consent to dispense with the quorum.
Without objection.
Thank you. Madam President, I rise today to give voice to the American people. It's the American people who have had their sons and daughters sent to war. It's the American people who will worry and sacrifice and suffer because of the decision made with little regard for them. It's the American people who deserve to have a say when we send our service members into harm's way. And it's the American people whose voice had not been listened to as we woke up yet again this weekend to a new war in the Middle East. Madam President, I'm proud to stand with my colleagues and co-sponsor this resolution. This isn't just a resolution that pits one branch of government against another. Yes, Congress has a constitutional responsibility to declare war, which is what the President called this. In his own words, said that this was a war. But Congress has a deeper responsibility to speak on behalf of the American people. And we're here to speak on behalf of the American people because the Trump administration hasn't been listening to them. I was a college student a generation ago when our country invaded Iraq. And it was weeks before the invasion, George W. Bush delivered a State of the Union address where he said falsely that Iraq was hiding efforts to produce weapons of mass destruction. And he spoke about proving America's resolve. Now, less than a week ago, President Trump came here to the Capitol to deliver his State of the Union address. Now, he made little effort to make a case to the American people of the need for military operations in Iran, just a few words in the longest ever State of the Union address. But he did speak about proving America's resolve. Madam President, we've seen this before. A president manufactures an imminent threat, chooses to start a war with unclear objectives, and uses America's resolve as an excuse for a war without end because they've got no plan to end it. But unlike 2003, President Trump refused to make a case to the American people. Right in his State of the Union address, he refused to make the case, and he refuses to seek approval for Congress for the use of military force, as President Bush did in 2003. I believe that this is unacceptable. More importantly, the American people believe it too. A week and a half ago, with rumors of war circulating, I held a town hall in Asbury Park, New Jersey. And I asked the people there, raise your hand if you want Donald Trump to order an attack on Iran. Nobody did. I asked them, a couple hundred people in attendance, to raise their hand if they believe that the American people should have a say in any decision that sends American sons and daughters into harm's way in Iran. Everyone's hand went up. Before being elected to Congress, I spent much of my career in national security at the Pentagon, in Afghanistan and Iraq, in the White House National Security Council, working on countering Iranian terrorism. I know the threat from Iran demands a serious approach. And I know that the approach that this administration is taking is not a serious one and is risking long-term damage to the United States and its interests, not to mention the short-term harm and tragedy that we've seen as now the death toll of American service members is up to 6. President Trump and his administration made no serious attempt to find a diplomatic solution to the threat Iran posed to the world. He sent negotiators who were already tasked with negotiating with Russia and Ukraine, with Israel and Palestine. Avoiding war through diplomacy cannot be a part-time job. He took no real steps to bring our allies and partners into the effort that could create a safer world without the use of military force. And President Trump had no meaningful strategy for pressuring Iran through sanctions that actually targeted the regime, not the Iranian people. And Donald Trump's administration and the Republicans in this Congress have actively cut programs like internet freedom efforts that undermine Iranians who were speaking out in their own attempts to bring freedom and stability to the country. While failing to pursue a more sustainable solution, President Trump planned to put Americans in harm's way with this military operation. But that's where the planning clearly stopped. Asked yesterday, how long will this war go on for? Donald Trump said 4 weeks, then 4 to 5 weeks. while also saying, as long as we wanted to. This morning, the president refused to rule out the use of American ground troops in Iran. He said, quote, "I don't have the yips with respect to boots on the ground." This came after he said multiple times that he expects service members to be killed in this operation. An open-ended war isn't just antithetical to what the American people want, it's dangerous and unpredictable. We have seen this path before. Pursuing regime change can have significant unintended consequences, and there is no guarantee that what comes next will be better. Trump's shifting of objectives raises questions about whether it will be enough and whether our military will be back at this again in just a few months, as they took today following the strikes last summer that Trump claimed obliterated the nuclear program he now calls a threat yet again. And beyond the near term, this military operation will have lasting consequences even after the bombs stop falling. Donald Trump may think that might makes right, but history proves him wrong. We have the benefit of a generation of time from the last time we were in this situation. Might may have led to regime change in Iraq, but it made our country less secure by doing lasting damage to America's reputation and spawning new threats while weakening our ability to engage globally. It led to more than 4,400 Americans killed. And it's cost our country trillions of dollars, not just in military spend, but in the cost of caring for the tens of thousands of service members wounded and injured during that war. It's why in the Pew surveys of recent years, 62% of all Americans said that the Iraq War was not worth fighting. That number, by the way, was higher with those who fought in it. 64% of veterans of the war said it was not worth it. That is why it's so important that we take actions right now. Let's be clear, Donald Trump chose this war, but it was not his choice to make. It is the American people who deserve to have a say. With this vote that we are pushing forward on, not only have we the opportunity to ensure that the voices of the American people are heard, we have an obligation to ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated. I urge my colleagues to join in this bipartisan effort and vote yes. Thank you, and I yield back.